Fighting the epilepsy gangster by itself is gruesome enough, but it's even worse when you're fighting a second condition at the same time. I've got a woman who thought that her battle with the epilepsy gangster was actually under control and she could return to her responsibilities as mother, as student, and as business owner. But breast cancer allied itself with the epilepsy gangster. Hear how she had to fight with her oncologist treating her cancer, who disregarded the achievements that she'd made in her epilepsy. Hear how she won. Epilepsy is regarded as an invisible disability. However, for another young woman, it's been her cerebral palsy that's drawn the attention and gotten the rejection of other people as she's been trying to lead an independent life. Thank you and welcome to Epilepsy Gangster.
Epilepsy is an invisible disability. It can strike at the most unexpected moments, like the most devious gangster. Epilepsy is a criminal. The epilepsy gangster steals money from people. It doesn't matter if he steals it from college funds, whether it's from retirement plans, and some of his victims have to choose between spending money for food or spending it on medicine. The epilepsy gangster robs people of relationships and job opportunities. But most diabolical of all, the epilepsy gangster kills. Like all criminals, the epilepsy gangster must be stopped. Watch Tim Ulmer and his gang you're meeting, who are committed to ending the crime spree of the epilepsy gangster.
Ladies and gentlemen, those of us in the epileptic community know that we've battled for years, maybe decades, for me half a century, to get our seizures under control on all kinds of cocktails of medicines. And so it really gets upsetting when we've got to change. My friend Natalie Boehm had cancer, and she had a long life of trying to control her epilepsy, and oncologists were not receptive to her concerns. Thank you for joining us, Natalie.
Thank you for having me today, Tim.
Natalie, to begin with, tell us a little bit about when the first time was the epilepsy gangster came into your life and what a fight it's been to get him under control.
Well, I was first diagnosed with epilepsy at the age of 2 due to a traumatic brain injury. It took 24 years and multiple combinations of medication before my seizures finally became under control. And I'm happy to say with the combination I have of medication, carbamazepine and lamotrigine, this year it was 20 years since I've lost consciousness. So it was quite a victory for me this February.
Bravo! That's wonderful. How important was it to get seizure-free?
It was very important. Really, I have to say, the first 10 years of battling epilepsy was a haze to me. I was on 90 milligrams of phenobarbital a day, which is 3 times the adult dosage. So I was pretty much in my own little world in the beginning, and it was what they had to do to keep me out of status. And then as a teenager, from the age of 12 to 16, I was on Depakote, which was causing suicide tendencies. And that was really when I first took a hard look at mental health. And even though now I'm on a better combination of medications, I think a lot of people don't realize the impact these medications that keep us alive have on our brain when it comes to mental health and what we have to do to stay mentally well so that we can function. So going through all these different combinations of medication, when I finally was put on carbamazepine, it was the gateway of, okay, going into status just almost seemed like a thing of the past, but it didn't allow epilepsy to be a thing of the past. I had to go on a second medication to help control the seizures. Still, they started coming in forms of complex partials. So I went from tonic-clonics to complex partials. They started getting that under control, and it just seemed like things were great. And that almost epilepsy at one point felt like epilepsy was almost a thing of the past. And then when long haul COVID came through, that almost killed me, not the COVID itself, but I got an infection on top of the COVID and then started having simple partial seizures. And it really made me, I have to say, it really made me appreciate, as scary as it was, it made me appreciate what I have, having the combination of meds I have, knowing that there's so many in our community who only wish they could find that magic combination to say, you know what, I can wake up today and not have to think, am I going to have a seizure?
Like many women, you've had a brush with breast cancer and also had hysterectomy because of the cancer. How did that interfere with controlling your epilepsy?
Well, what happened was I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer, which means it was invasive, but it hadn't spread to the lymph nodes. I was really lucky it got caught very early. The frustration I had was not so much with dealing with the cancer initially. I had a bilateral mastectomy and they checked and saw that it was that it didn't spread. So rather than they kept going back and forth, were they going to do chemo, were they not? Once they decided we weren't doing chemo, I still had to do some form of a preventative care because I was at risk with it being a hormone positive cancer. I was risk for it coming back, particularly as uterine cancer. Well, they didn't want to schedule me for the hysterectomy. The insurance, the medical group was giving them a hard time. So they wanted me to go on a medication called tamoxifen, which is a hormone blocker. Well, the problem with tamoxifen is myself taking carbamazepine. There's a compound in carbamazepine that blocks tamoxifen. So it can't break down to its molecular level and do what it needs to in the body. It would just pass through. So here I said to them, I said, I can't be taking this. If it's not going to work, we have to do something else. Both my oncologists literally said to me, well, we just take you off the carbamazepine. And my jaw almost hit the ground and went, no, you are not taking me off carbamazepine. Do you want to know why we're having a conversation right now? You want to know why I have a pulse right now? It's called carbamazepine. And they just couldn't get through their mind that they would have to advocate for me as a patient to take that step. And what was just so frustrating was, you know, my neurologist now he's wonderful and we're working together, but even him at first was like, well, we just put you on lacosamide. And I said, well, this is going to be a big step. I haven't changed the medicine in years. I go, if we go through this, I'm under observation. If it triggers something, am I going to lose my license? He said, yes, you will. I said, well, then guess what? We're not making the change. And they just couldn't understand why I pretty much put up the wall I did. And I just said to him, I said, look, I have a family. I have children. My job requires me to drive. I can't put that at risk because I don't know if it was the insurance company that was just putting walls up for them, if it was causing them more work than they wanted. You know, I had to put my family first. If it had been a situation where, let's say, I wasn't married, my seizures weren't truly controlled, there was, room to work with, I didn't have to drive, I could just get on the metro train or something like that where I had a system, I think I would have been more open saying, okay, let's try. Maybe something better will come of this. But the fact that I didn't have those options, and that sadly in society, you and many people with epilepsy, we understand the frustrations of just trying to be on SSDI or fighting to keep a job if we're lucky enough to get a job and things like that. We have to stand our ground, and when we say no, it's not no to be I'm being difficult, it's no, I have to take into consideration my life and not just a pill. I have to see how this decision is going to apply to everything.
Have you met other cancer patients that with epilepsy who've had the same ordeal?
I have met people with epilepsy who also did have cancer, and I found it's very more emotionally challenging than anything. I can say in my own experience, the first thought in my mind wasn't, am I going to die from cancer? Honestly, I mean, I know a lot of people when they first hear the C word, they think, okay, am I dying? The first thing I thought was, oh my goodness, is this going to trigger my seizures? Am I going to be able to care for my kids? Am I going to be able to work anymore? Am I going to be able to be an entrepreneur, which I'm very passionate about? How is this going to change my life? And I think, people with chronic illness who have chronic illnesses already, when they're walking into a situation like that, I don't even think, they're thinking, all right, am I dying? Is it going to trigger something I've already dealt with? What is the new route of care I'm going to need now? At least I felt, where do you even start? Maybe that's the best way to put it. You have to take a step back and go, okay, this is happening. Where do I go with this? What is the first step? I think it's more overwhelming mentally than it is the physical aspect of it.
How has your cancer recovery been, and how has your epilepsy been during that period?
Well, my cancer recovery is well. I did go to a new medical group, and I did get the hysterectomy, and I have to say it's probably the best thing I did. I find that I have more energy now, and that I am more emotionally balanced because of it. With my epilepsy, I haven't had seizures, but it was very stressful and very draining, because I felt at the time from July that I had my bilateral mastectomy all the way to the end of March when I had the hysterectomy, I was in a constant state of fighting and trying to advocate for myself. And I felt I was facing a lot of microaggression from the doctors. I would, for example, go to the doctor and he said, well, have you thought about it? You want to start the tamoxifen? And I said, no, I told you I didn't. He had given me the options of not doing anything, the tamoxifen, getting my ovaries out, or hysterectomy. I said, can we at least go with the ovary removal to reduce the estrogen? All right, come back in a couple of weeks, we'll talk about it. I go back 2 weeks later. So have you thought about the tamoxifen? And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm driving back and forth and cutting into my schedule where I can tell already this doctor doesn't want to take another option. But he's trying to bully me into finally getting me to throw my hands up and say, all right, fine, you want it, let's go, whatever, let's do it. And I couldn't do that. And I found that it was really very stressful on my mental health. I mean, it burnt me out to the point where I felt so terrible. I'm happy I survived. I'm so lucky I found it. But I just started looking at my family. And for the past 3 years, between the long haul COVID and cancer, my husband has become 100% my caregiver, which is, I'm so thankful I have him. He's my best friend. He's everything to me. But I felt like I went from being a wife to a child. And I even got to the point where I called my best friend one night and I just said, I'm ready to sit down with a mediator and just sign the house, sign everything to my husband after everything he's done for me. He shouldn't have to take care of me anymore. I'm here to be his wife, not his little girl, not his child. I just can't put him through this anymore. And I just saw how much it was really impacting my mind. And I even got to the point a couple of times I thought, after 44 years, why am I still fighting? Why am I putting my family through this? Why am I putting my friends through this? It's been a good ride, and not because I wanted to hurt myself, but I was in that state of emotional mental exhaustion where I felt like all my options had been gone. So I made the decision, as hard as it was. I reached out to my neurologist, and I did acknowledge to him that this was causing me to have suicide tendencies, and I did need help. And I did, through the social worker at USC, I did find a therapist, and I've been in therapy, and it's the best thing I've done. And for any of your viewers who are watching this, don't ever be ashamed to ask for help. A lot of people with epilepsy deal with depression and go through phases like this. And in our community, people with epilepsy are 22 times more likely to commit suicide than the general population due to our condition. So don't hesitate to say, I'm not okay, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
What final word of advice do you have for people with epilepsy?
It's very important for you to advocate for yourself. Do everything you can to educate yourself about your condition, your medications. Understand that when you go to the doctor, you have the right to ask questions. At times I take a notebook with me and I'll write down what I need and go down the list and ask. If something doesn't feel right, Be honest with them. If something you feel scared or feel is not the right thing to do, you have the right to say no. And if your doctor won't take no for an answer, you don't have the right doctor. Because a doctor who will care will help you find another route, or if they can't, they'll be open to you getting a second opinion and coming to a middle ground with a decision. So the moment doctor says it's my way or no way, start looking for a new doctor.
Very good. I am very happy that you've done so well and that you did get the help you have.
Thank you so much.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tim Ulmer. Between the last 2 seasons of Epilepsy Gangster, I had a wonderful milestone occur that was life-changing. I went 2 years without a seizure. All my life, since the age of 2, I've averaged a seizure every 3 weeks and probably been on over 30 medications. I have an epileptologist who keeps up on what's happening. And 2020, he put me on a new medication and the frequency of seizures lengthened. He told me that if I could go 2 years seizure-free, he'd even improve me driving again. Well, it turned out that this spring, I drove myself to church for the first time in 33 years. It was a dream come true. Make sure your epileptologist keeps you informed on what's new in treatments and medications.
At SK Life Science, time is turning the idea of a healthy world into treatments of the future, one patient at a time, knowing that every second counts, as every moment is priceless, bringing new options to patients with epilepsy. And the vision of a world where 0 seizures is not just a hope for humanity, but a possibility to bring more to life.
I've known these 2 ladies, Ande and Holly Perano, for a long time. And in addition to coming to the epilepsy support group I facilitate, Andy's challenged by more than one disability. And so that's why I wanted people to hear what it's like to handle more than one ailment besides epilepsy. Ande, Holly, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Please tell us what it's like to have something other than epilepsy.
Exhausting.
When did epilepsy come into the game?
Annie had her first big seizure, I guess, when she was in first grade, when she was getting on the bus. And I rushed her down to get to a neurologist to see about getting her whatever we needed to do with epilepsy, because we had always been told that she's a high candidate for epilepsy. She was under seizure precaution because she was going for the first 3 years of life. She did 5 to 6 therapies a week, and everybody said that they're noticing her some zoning out, so she might be, epilepsy candidate. There is a seizure element here, but when she had her seizure at school, she was getting on the bus and she had a drop seizure, and her bus driver is the one who told me that you might want to have your child tested for epilepsy, because my son has epilepsy, and your daughter, as soon as she had the seizure, I brought her on the bus and she fell asleep, so blah blah blah.
That's fortunate.
Yeah, so we rushed her down and we got an EEG and an MRI, and it was inconclusive, but the doctor did say that she's on seizure precaution. So zoom forward to probably 2011, and that's when Annie started having grand mals and petites and cluster seizures really bad. So we were able to get her officially diagnosed with, the EEG, finally something registered on the EEG. Then we rushed forward to her senior year in high school. When did you graduate? 2017?
2014.
2014. And he had seizures so bad. I mean, grandma so horribly that I had to pull her out of school and have her homeschool.
So you got a high school diploma though, Andy?
Yeah.
We had to fight for it. Yes, we did, because they just wanted to give her
A certificate of attendance.
a certificate of attendance.
Congratulations. Andy, you said it's exhausting, but please tell us what a day is like while you're juggling all these things.
It starts out as a typical day. I get up and I have breakfast and I get my clothes on and I do my workout routine and get ready for the rest of the day ahead.
The problem with Andy is that she cannot tell that she has seizures. She has to have, there's got to be somebody around.
Is there one problem that's tougher to care about than the other?
It's probably the epilepsy with the memory.
Yeah.
Memory and epilepsy. And the other thing is that, she does microcephaly. And she has processing and learning deficits. And she's had some horrific seizures. So that could impact her. Seizures do cause brain damage. Okay. So we're not sure with the microcephaly or the seizures or what squeezes or shortens her memory, but her memory is probably the toughest ones that we have to deal with.
My wife and daughter get on me for my memory sometime too. So
yeah, when you have a loved one that has these issues, it's just like, it's not worth the battle to fight over the memory. But the memory is the hardest one. Her cerebral palsy is just, she gets really tired. Her left side starts dragging, but that was more when she went to high school. It was just terrible because she was on a special bus because the kids were just pushing her, and I was just afraid she was going to end up getting pushed off the bus or just ran over.
Can you say whether or not it's the memory because of the physiology or the side effect of medication? In my case, I know it's the side effect of the medication that hurts my memory.
I feel like it's both medication and the physiology for me.
Well, we don't know that. I do know that she's had some horrible seizures. She's had cluster seizures back to back, and they do kill brain cells. So I can't answer that question.
Andy, you said that, told me something about a place that you go to work at every day?
Not necessarily work, but they give us
Purpose?
not purpose, but they kind of give us some skills for work, like almost like preparing us for the workforce.
They have coaches.
They have job coaches.
Great. How long is their program?
It's called Prism. She only goes 3 days a week. She could go 5 days a week if she wanted. It begins at what, 9 o'clock?
8 to 3.
8 to 3. 8
Yeah.
to 3. And they have various young adults with assortment of disabilities, some severe, some minor, and he's becoming quite the mentor.
There's actually a couple of older ones too. Like there's one people that are in their 30s, and then the oldest ones are in their 40s.
Okay. And Andy's becoming quite a mentor and a helper with kids or the young adults there. So I'm very proud of her.
All right. Very good. What are your plans for the future, Andy?
I am planning on getting a job at one of the local animal shelters as a kennel technician. But I'm going to have one of the job coaches at Prism help me out, because the last time I did one on my own, they were not very, very good with me.
They were not patient with her. They did not respect her disabilities.
Andy, did you also work with a supermarket?
Yeah.
I did, yes.
That's the only job that she's held, yes.
How did that turn out?
The same reason my mom said. They didn't respect my disability.
Yeah, they had a hard time. They weren't patient with her, even though I had a sidebar conversation with our managers. explaining the situation, but they just did not seem to have patience with her. And nobody, when she was in difficult situations, maybe with a customer that was too demanding, or
Or they expected too much heavy lifting.
There was nobody would step in from the other employees would not step in and help, which it's a shame.
What words of advice do each of you have for other families with ailments besides epilepsy?
Well, mine would be the odds are pretty much always going to be stacked against you, but you can don't completely give up hope, because that's possibly the worst thing you could do.
And Holly, what would you say?
As a parent of a child, a young adult, it gets very, I hate to say it, hopeless, sad sometimes, but don't give up, because there are so many rewarding periods that happen, and that you see your little flower blossom into this beautiful, beautiful rose, and it's just, you got to have patience. You got to keep a sense of humor. Don't give up. And people can be really crappy out there to these people, these kids, young adults, whatever, with disabilities. Just don't, there are some good people out there that do take care of and are kind to our kids and our people.
Bravo. That's so sweet, and we wish both of you all the best in the future. I think you got a good start going.
All righty. Thank you, Tim. Take care.
The Defeating Epilepsy Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping those battling epilepsy. We provide advocacy and educational services to those battling epilepsy at a global level. For more information about our projects and services, please visit our website at www.defeatingepilepsy.org or email us at info@defeatingepilepsy.org. Please like us on social media and follow us so you can see how we are making a difference. Thank you for your support, and together we will defeat epilepsy.
Hi, I am Natalie Beavers, and I am one of the many survivors living with epilepsy. My life has been filled with many ups and downs. It's just a part of life. I am proud of the person that I am becoming, and as I stand in the face of this relentless disorder called epilepsy, I want you all to know that I am me.
This man's epilepsy didn't bother his generals nor the government leaders at home, because epilepsy was then believed to be a channel to the gods. His daring invasions in Gaul and Britain showcased his ambition, pushing the boundaries beyond others' expectations, and laid the foundation for much of today's European national boundaries. In the southeast, he was the man who put Cleopatra on the Egyptian throne. He practically doubled the size of the Roman Republic. He emerged victoriously after the Roman Civil War against powerful rivals, demonstrating his military expertise. Part of this achievement was that he inspired loyalty among his soldiers by ordering personal land grants to retiring Roman soldiers. Private citizens were loyal because he lowered taxes, reorganized debts, and expanded citizenship, which made Rome a more inclusive and efficient state. He built much of the Roman infrastructure. He arranged the calendar into the Julian calendar, a system that influenced our modern calendar. Despite his seizures, his rise to power culminated in declaring himself emperor for life. That led to his murder and set the stage for the Roman Empire to replace the Republic. His life serves as a reminder of the heights that can be reached with vision and perseverance. His achievements in warfare, governance, and reform cemented his place in history. His name is Julius Caesar. Experience is the teacher of all things.
Ooh. Wow, that was close. Epilepsy Gangster, my gang and I are rolling out the attack on you. So, for the rest of you, may you be seizure free and God bless you.